Hello crafty family, and welcome to another tutorial by She So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, I am sharing my favorite neutral style Christmas DIYs with innovative ideas to get those creative juices flowing. Now all of the projects also have the supply list and information links in the description box, and you can take a snapshot to take with you shopping. Now before we start, I have to say hey, and don't forget, make sure you click that subscribe button so you never miss a new video. So now let's jump right into the projects today. This project is a white swirl Christmas tree art piece. Now we're going to need one of these tree toppers from the Dollar Tree, some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree or a picture frame from the Dollar Tree, and some black foam board from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to start with the Christmas tree topper, and I first want to break off that bottom piece that you hook to the tree, and then if you pull apart the pieces, they should snap right apart and you'll have two different star pieces. So now what you do is you go in with your wire clippers, and we are going to start separating the little swirl pieces into the pieces we want for our design. And it's just little clips all along the way until you separate each one of the pieces. Once you get one of the pieces separated, you just trim it down with your wire clippers until you have your final piece that you want to work with. Now, this is what the piece will look like, and we're going to cut each one of them down, and we're going to end up with a total of 10 of these pieces to work with. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and give it a coat of white spray paint. Now you can definitely use the silver as if you want to, but I wanted my tree design to be white. Now while that's drying, we are going to take our tumbling tower blocks and build our frame. So we're first going to lay out 5 blocks, and we're going to be gluing these all together. Now what we'll end up doing is we're going to make 2 5-block sets, and I'm just going to glue these together with some wood glue, hot glue, or any kind of glue that you would like. Since this is going to be adhered to foam board, it doesn't matter which glue you use because it will be reinforced in the end. So once you get all 5 pieces glued together, here is what it looks like, and just repeat it until you have 2 sets. Now the next set of blocks we'll be putting together is a total of 5 blocks side by side. Now we're going to glue these together the same way we did for our 5-block sets as well, and we're going to do 2 7-block sets, gluing these end to end, making sure you wipe away that glue as you go. Now here is one of them, and now just repeat them until you have a total of 2. So now all of our frame pieces are all put together. We can start assembling our frame. So lay your 5-block piece down on your carpenter square, and then add a little bit of that glue at the corner, and you want to join the corners as shown here. And then we're just going to flip it around, and we want to add the other 5-block piece to the other side, sitting it right on top of that 7-block piece with a little bit of glue. And when you apply it, just hold it in place until it adheres for about 5 to 10 seconds. Now you want to flip the entire thing over and then add that last 7-block piece to close in your frame by just adding glue on each one of those open ends and then pressing that 7-block piece right down to close everything in for your completed frame. Now you just want to let this sit for a few minutes until that glue really solidifies, and now we can paint the frame. Now keeping with my black and white theme, I am going to be painting this with some white chalk paint. Now I chose chalk paint instead of acrylic paint because it is thicker and it tends to hide all of the creases of the blocks a lot better than acrylic paint or spray paint, but feel free to use any kind of paint that you like. So I like to start painting my frames on the inside and then go on the outside, and then finally laying it flat to paint the surface of the frame. And I'm going to do about 2 coats for this to make sure that it's nice and smooth and allow it to dry. So now what we're going to do is take that foam board, and we are going to take our dried frame and we're going to sit it right in the corner of that foam board. Now this will be the backing of our frame, so I'm going to trace out the frame with a pencil. And then when that's done, I'm going to grab my ruler and my utility or X-Acto knife and cut out the shape that we just traced onto our foam board. Now once we have our shape, I am going to trim an additional 1/4 inch off the long side and the short sides so it won't overlap the edges of our frame. So now I'm just going to test the fit by laying the foam board on the back of the frame and making sure it doesn't overlap and everything looks good to go. So now we can start doing putting together our tree. So here are my spray painted pieces from my tree topper, and now I'm going to start laying them out to build our frame for our tree. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lay 2 pieces at the bottom as shown here, end to end, and we want to lay them down in a slant. Now this needs to kind of emulate how tree branches would lay. So I'm going to be laying these 2 at a time, side by side, applying hot glue to each one of the tips, and this is how the first layer should look. Now the next layer will be right on top of that, and the swirls will be slightly inward, and we're just going to go inward a little bit more for each additional layer. Here it is at 3 layers, and then the final 4th layer will be added right on top. Now that 4th layer does cross over quite a bit, so I'm just going to trim down the overlap just a little bit so it'll look a little better in the final project. So once you have 4 layers of your tree, we can work on the topper. So we're going to take piece number 9 and we are going to sit it right on top. Now once you decide where you would like it to sit, again, you're just going to add some hot glue to the very top and the bottom and then place it right on top of your tree. And then for that final 10th piece, we are going to figure out where we want to place that for the bottom of the tree. It can be higher up or lower down. I chose the lower down position. So I'm just going to add hot glue and press that into place as well until it adheres. And here is what my tree turned out to look like. And then just go in with a brush and remove all of those hot glue strings. Okay, so now we can take our frame, which is nice and dry. I'm going to sit it on top to make sure it does fit okay. And then we're going to flip it over and make sure everything is level on both sides. Now, once you're happy with the placement, now you can go in with your hot glue and go around all the way the edge of the back of the frame and then place your Christmas tree design right on top. You want to carefully place this. You can only place it once, so make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. And here is what the tree finally looks like when it's all framed. Now, if you like, you can trim out with embellishments. You could put greenery on the top. You can add greenery to the corner. You can even add greenery along the bottom. But I just thought this piece was so beautiful as is, and I didn't want to add any additional embellishments. And then to hang this piece, I'm just going to flip it over, and I have a piece of jute string with knots tied on each end, and I'm just going to hot glue those ends of those knots right on the back. Now that sticker did kind of bother me a little bit, so I did end up peeling that off here, getting it out of the way. And now, just to cover up the ends of those knots, I'm just going to take a piece of craft paper, add some hot glue to it, and just lay it over the ends of those knots just for a nice clean finish. And once that's adhered down, you are finished with this project. And oh my goodness, you guys, I just love how this piece turned out. Now, I thought that the tree topper was so pretty, and deconstructing it and coming up with this beautiful tree design was such a perfect idea to share with you guys. Now, you can also add some lights by feeding it through the back, or greenery, embellishments, or keep it as is in all its beauty. This project is a set of 2-toned holiday vases. So we're going to need 2 of these small vases from the Dollar Tree. Now what we're going to do first is take those vases. We want to make sure they're nice and clean, and I'm going to give them 2 coats of this satin bright white spray paint by Krylon, and you can use chalk paint or acrylic paint if you like. Now here are the vases all nice and dry, so now we're ready to paint them with the faux wood effect. And in order to do this, we will be using our antique wax. Now the first thing we want to do is to take our painter's tape, and we want to put the painter's tape around near the bottom edge of the vase. And I guess I went up about 1 3/4 inches, and you want to go around each one of the vases with the tape. And here are both vases taped off, so now we're ready to paint. So I'm going to take some of my acrylic or my antique wax, and you want to make sure you use a chip brush for this because the bristles and the chip brush give it the perfect grain to look like wood. So we're going to start applying that. Now you do want to start applying it, making sure you consistently go in one direction. Now it will fling off, so don't do like I did and keep your other vase in the area. You see how it has little speckles on it? No worries, we'll be able to clean that off later. So you want to continue to go around the bottom of the vase with the antique wax until you achieve the wood grain look that you are happy with. And here are those speckles, and you just take a wet wipe and that just wipes off. And that's the thing about antique wax, it's really forgiving. It doesn't dry really quick, so you could just wipe that off and keep things moving. So here is the result of the first vase. So we're going to sit that down, and we are going to do this for the second vase as well. Here they are, and let them completely dry. Now once they're just about dry, I'm going to go ahead and remove that painter's tape from both of them, and you can see that it left a nice crisp line, and this is what they look like. Now to embellish these, I am just going to take a piece of this black and white checkered ribbon, and I am going to tie a bow around the middle of each one of those vases just to tie it in to the black and white neutral theme of these projects, and it looks super cute. And here is one of the vases. Just repeat this for your second one. And now both vases have their bows, and now you have to add your greenery of choice. So I'm using some of these pine sprigs with little teeny pine cones on them. Now I got these in a huge bundle at Family Dollar for $3, and I just cut 2 of the sprigs off, and I'm going to place one in each one of my vases. So simple, but still so stylish. I love how these look with the little pine accents. And now you can place these on display and enjoy them in your space. Now I really love the simplicity of these vases, and they blend in perfectly to our neutral holiday theme. Now these can also be used year-round by just changing out the greenery too. There's so many ways to decorate and display these vases. Now no matter how you choose to decorate with these, they're definitely an easy and budget-friendly project with a stylish look. Now this project is a wood holiday bulb decor piece. Now we're going to need one of these wood Merry and Bright signs and one wood bulb sign from the Dollar Tree. So what we're going to do is we're first going to start off with the bulb sign, cut off all of those tags, and then we're going to grab our painter's tape. Now I want to divide this into 3 sections, so I'm putting a piece of painter's tape near the top and one near the bottom, so I'll have a strip open in the middle as shown here. Just wrap that tape around the back, and now we're ready to stain. Now I am going to be using my Waverly Antique Wax for this, but you can definitely use traditional stain for this if you like. I'm just going to take my cloth, and I am going to stain the top and the bottom portions, just rubbing that antique wax down into the wood grain. Now once the top and the bottom are done, this is what they look like, and you want to follow up with a paper towel, removing all of the excess wax. So once that's done, now you can go ahead and remove your painter's tape, and then we're going to place it right back on top of the wax side to outline the center portion, which we will be painting another color. Now once both sides are done, we are going to paint the middle with this acrylic black paint, and you can use any color that you like, but I wanted black for this project, and we're just going to place one nice coat in that center panel. And once it's all painted, you want to let it sit to completely dry. Now while that is drying, we're going to grab our Merry and Bright sign, and we're going to grab something that we can cut it on. So we're going to remove the tags, and what we want to do is remove the Merry from this. So I'm first going to go in with my pencil and outline of the letters where I will detaching it from the rest of the sign. And I won't be including that swirl on the end of the M because it won't fit on my bulb, but you can definitely keep it on if you like. Now to detach it, I'm just going to be using some of these utility knives, or you can use an X-Acto knife, and all you have to do is score the line 2 or 3 times, and then once you do that, it should be able to where you can bend it back and forth a few times and it'll snap right off. Now if you do have any wood burrs, you can go definitely trim that off with the knife, and you want to repeat this for the entire sign. And then here it is, all detached and ready to go. Now you can clean up all the edges with your knife, and you can also go in with a piece of sandpaper and smooth all your cuts off. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and start to paint it. So I'm going to be using some white acrylic paint to paint my Merry word. You can definitely use spray paint or chalk paint. I'm just going to use acrylic paint and put a couple of coats on here, making sure you get around all of those edges of the letters. And here it is, all painted, and now allow it to completely dry. So now all of our pieces are finally dry and we can start to assemble our project. So go ahead and remove that painter's tape from your bulb, and everything, it turned out really clean with that. And we're going to place Merry right on top. So now you can see why I did cut that swirl off, because it would be overlapping the edge. Now to apply the Merry, I'm just going to apply some hot glue to the back of it and then place it and center it right on the middle of that bulb. Now once it is applied, I noticed there was a huge gap at the bottom, so I had one of these snowflakes left over that I purchased from the Dollar Tree, and through the magic of camera, we did paint that white as well, and we're going to go ahead and apply that right below the Merry. It does fit perfectly in that little open space, so I'm just going to add some hot glue to the back and then place it right underneath the Merry. Now I did have a hole in the snowflake where you would hang it with a string, but I'm going to disguise that by just putting a dab of acrylic paint inside of that hole to kind of blend it in so it's less noticeable. Now to top this off, I am going to be using some greenery. So I have some pine sprigs, I have some cedar sprigs, and I wanted to give these a snow effect. So I'm going to go ahead and take my paintbrush and lightly just dry brush on some of that white acrylic paint to give it a snow dusted look on all of my greenery. So here's all of my greenery ready to go. Now once it's dry, we can start to apply it to the top of the bulb, and I'm going to start by laying out 2 of the pine sprigs and then 2 of the cedar sprigs right on top. Now you can use any kind of greenery that you like for this. I'm using what I had on hand, and I wanted to stick with a neutral green color, nothing too sparkly or shiny or red, so I wanted this to be really neutral. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab some of that greenery and apply 2 of the pine sprigs on top first, and then I'm going to follow up by adding those cedar sprigs right on top and hot gluing those. Now once all my greenery is in place, I'm just going to top everything off with this black and white ribbon, and I tied it into a little bow, and I'm just going to hot glue that right in the center. And there you go. Now to hang this up, I'm just going to take some jute twine, and you're just going to run it right back through that hole and hang it up if you wish. And here is the completed sign on display, and it turned out so beautiful. Now, I don't know about you, but I just think that the combination of the black and white with natural wood looks so high-end, and when it's combined with the greenery, it looks so festive for the holidays. Now, I do think adding the little snowflake really tops off the look, and I love how it turned out. You all have to let me know in the comments what you think about this project. Now, this project is a pair of skis and a wall decor piece. Now we're going to start with 2 5-gallon paint stir sticks sold in 3 packs from Lowe's for 98 cents and 1 jumbo skewer from the Dollar Tree. Now if you can't find them at the Dollar Tree, you can also get these from Walmart in their camping section, and they're only 88 cents a pack there. So we're going to go ahead and start off with those paint stir sticks. Now I wanted to cut them down to about 15 inches. So I'm making a mark, making sure that the parts that you cut off is the handle part. So to hold these together, I like to tape them together with some painter's tape just so they don't shift while I'm cutting them. Now to cut them, I am going to be using my manual miter box saw here. You can use an electric saw if you have one, but I wanted to show you that these are easily cut with a miter box as well. So we did cut off that handle at that 15-inch mark, and now on the other side, we wanted to kind of cut a point. So the miter box does come with a miter cut, which is a 45-degree cut as shown here. So I'm just going to overlap that edge, and you can see it cut off one side of that miter. I'm going to flip the stack over, place the saw back in place, and saw off the other side, and now you have a point at the end. So now you can take your pieces apart, and I didn't want my point to be so sharp. I'm going to dull it out. So I'm taking a pair of my wire clippers and I'm snipping off that point, kind of rounding it out so I can achieve the look that I'm going for. And then I'm going to go in with a piece of sandpaper just to smooth everything nice and smooth and make it a little bit more round what I'm going for. So now that that's done, we can stain it. I'm going to be using my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm going to apply one nice coat on the top and the sides of both of my pieces. And once both pieces are done, make sure you go over it with a paper towel to remove all of that excess wax. Now go ahead and grab one of those skewers out of the package. Now you can also use 1/8" dowels if you can't find skewers as well. And I'm cutting them down to about 13 inches, and I need 2 pieces. Now for the ends, on the cut ends of these, I'm just going to sand them down until they get to a little point. You can also use a pencil sharpener to do this. Now for the excess piece of that piece that you cut, we're going to cut 2 additional pieces about 3/4 of an inch, and these will act as a piece on our ski poles. So on the flat side of your skewer, I'm just going to apply a dot of that hot glue and place that little 3/4 inch piece on the end, and then also do that for the other one as well, so you'll have a set of completed ski poles. Now I wanted my ski poles to be black, so I'm going to be using my black acrylic paint to paint these. And I'm just going to apply about 2 coats of this over the entire ski pole, and making sure that you cover all of the creases, especially where the glue meets the piece. Now once these dry, we are going to grab our skis, and I wanted to add decorative accents to this. So I'm going to be using my paint pen that I got from Amazon. I'll be sure to link it in the description box below, but you can certainly use acrylic paint to do this as well. So I'm first going to draw a line across the top. Now notice I do have my skis side by side because I wanted the lines to be the same on both of my skis. So I'm doing them at the same time. And I'm doing 1 line across the bottom and 2 lines across the top. Now in between the top 2 lines, I'm going to go across again with my black acrylic paint, and I'm putting a line right in between there as a decorative accent. And then at the bottom, I'm going to put 1 black line on top of the white line that I made with my paint pen at the bottom. So now you have your 2 decorative skis, and allow those to dry. Now once they're dry, we can form our ski design. So I wanted them to crisscross. So go ahead and crisscross them, mark them with a pencil, and then I'm going to add a nice bit of hot glue where they crisscross and place it right back on top, pressing it firmly, making sure they're bonded. Once they're bonded, flip it over, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra security by using some of these 3/8" staples, and I'm going to staple a few times in the back, and there we have it. Our skis are nice and secure. So now we're going to work on attaching our ski poles, and we're going to crisscross them right on top of our skis. So we're only going to apply that first one directly to the ski, and we're just going to put hot glue right in the center and lay it on top. Now for the second one, we're going to do a little different. I didn't want the wobbly fixture of it laying on top of the other one, so we are going to cut this in half and then remove another 1/4 inch of the ski and then the ski pole, and then lay it down on top so it's 2 separate pieces. No worries, this will be covered up in the end, so you don't want to see it, but it will make the pieces more secure. So once all your ski poles are nice and secure, we're going to add our greenery accent. So I have a piece of cedar here. I have some snow dusted pine pieces with pine cones and a berry bundle that I got from Dollar Tree. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to tie this bundle together with some jute twine and then wrap it around the bottom just a few times and then tie it off in the back. Now once that's all done, we are going to go ahead and clip off any excess stem and add just a dab of hot glue at the bottom to make sure that stays nice and secure. Now before we attach that bundle to it, I wanted to add my hanging string. Now you can use jute twine, but I chose to use this fishing line because I didn't want my string to be visible while it's hanging. So I'm just going to add a line of that hot glue at the top of each one of the skis and lay 2 or 3 inches of that fishing line in the hot glue, trim it off, and now you have kind of an invisible hanger here that you can use to hang it. Now to add a little bit more security, I am going in with some shorter staples and applying 2 on each side just to make sure that that fishing line does stay in place. Now we can apply our greenery bundle. I didn't want to hot glue it because I wanted this to be interchangeable. So what I'm doing is kind of weaving a piece of jute twine in the back of the bundle. And once I get that woven through the back, I'm going to flip it over and then I'm just going to tie this into place. Now this is perfect so you can change it out during the season with whatever decor you would like, and it's nice and secure on the front. Now as a final accent, I'm adding one of these black and white ribbons to the bottom. I think that this finishes off the look perfectly, and I'm hot gluing it to the bottom of the bundle. And now your piece is ready to go on display. And you guys, here it is. It's all set up and I love how this turned out. Now the beautiful combination of the winter greenery along with the stained wood looks so amazing and would probably fit into any winter themed decor display. And the greenery can be interchangeable too, so you could switch it out throughout the winter and holiday season. Now I hope you all give this awesome project a try. Now this project is a Let It Snow wood sign. Now we're going to need one of these Let It Snow wood signs from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to need a wood kids puzzle from the Dollar Tree. Now what we're going to do is start off with the wood kids puzzle. We're going to remove it from all of its packaging first. Now I like to remove all of the pieces and hot glue them into place because I wanted this to be a very smooth back, but you can certainly repurpose these pieces if you have a need for them. Now I didn't need them, so I just hot glued them back on the back, and that'll make the back of the project nice and smooth. Now I'm also going to sand off the little stamp on the back of the wood piece so it won't show in my project. Now once that's sanded off, we can proceed with staining, and I'm going to be using my Waverly Antique Wax. Now as always, you can certainly use traditional stain if you like to. Now I am going to cover the entire back of it, and also don't forget to get around those edges as well. Now once it's all covered, go over it with a paper towel to remove all of the excess wax. So now what you want to do is sit this to the side to dry, and we're going to grab our sign. Now this Let It Snow sign is a little larger than our wood puzzle. So what we're going to do is we are going to mark off the top of the letters where we need to trim it down so it'll fit right on top of our sign. Now once it's all marked, it's easy to cut it off right where you marked it with a pair of standard scissors. And now we'll do one last test fit, and everything fits perfectly. Now we're going to be painting our sign, and I'm going to be using some black acrylic paint. I'm also going to be using some white acrylic paint. Now we're going to be painting our black first, so we want to go ahead and tape off the edge of the letters so we don't get any black paint on our snowflake. Now I'm just going to be applying one nice coat of this black acrylic paint on the top of the letters and in the sides of the letters where it's exposed. Now here are all of my letters painted in that black acrylic paint, and it looks great. Now once it starts to dry, we're going to remove that tape, and then we can go in with our white acrylic paint and we're going to give a nice coat to our snowflake. We're going to let that dry and give a second coat as well. And here's our snowflake all nice and painted, and everything is good to go. So now that everything is dried, we're going to grab our sign, and I wanted my letters to pop, so I'm going to use my acrylic paint pen to outline my letters. Now I did get these paint pens from Amazon. I will link them in the description box below, but you can certainly use some acrylic paint and a fine paintbrush to get the same effect, and here is what it looks like. And now what we're going to do is apply it to the top of our wood sign. Now to do this, I'm only going to apply some hot glue to the back of it in a few areas, and then carefully place it right on the top of the wood sign in the center. Now once it's nice and secure, we are going to be adding a hanger to this. And what I decided to do was to use some wood beads. Now I have some white beads and black beads, and I actually am repurposing these beads from a garland that I got from Walmart last year. So they're selling it this year. I suggest you grab some of those and you can repurpose them as well. So what I'm going to do is take some jute twine. I'm going to add a little hot glue to the end to make it so it doesn't fray, and I'm going to start adding my beads to it. Now the order that I'm adding them are 2 white beads, 1 black bead, and repeating that process since I have more white beads than black beads on hand, and I'm going to repeat this until I get my desired length. Now I'm going to tie a knot on each end just so those beads remain in place, making sure that you have at least 3 inches of a tail on each end. So go ahead and flip your sign over. You want to align your beads at the top about 1 inch in from the edge. You want to apply a line of hot glue and place the tail of those beads right in that line of glue. You want to do this on each side of your sign. And once it dries, you can go ahead and we are going to cover the back of the project. You guys know I love to finish off my projects with a backing. So all we have to do is I'm going to be using some brown craft paper, and I'm going to apply a bead of hot glue along the back of that puzzle, just making sure there's enough where it adheres evenly. Flip it over and adhere it to your craft paper. You want to press it real firmly into there to make sure it's nice and bonded. Now once it's bonded, go ahead and protect your work surface and use an X-Acto knife or a utility knife and carefully trim that craft paper off around the edges. Now once you get around the beads, you want to be careful going around those, making sure you don't cut the jute twine holding them in place. And here you have it. It is nice and secure. The back looks super clean and professional. And now this is ready to hang or give as a gift. And here it is on display. Now I'm really excited about how this turned out. Now I think the lettering looks great, and you can do a solid or a ticking outline if you choose. I really hope that you all are enjoying these crafts so far, but I wanted to pop in really quick and let you all know that you could follow me on all of these platforms as She So CraftDee. So now let's jump right into that next DIY. Now this project is a wood tree decor display. We're going to need some cork craft sticks from Lowe's, and these are 98 cents. We're going to need 2 sizes of the popsicle sticks from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to need one of these box wall art pieces from the Dollar Tree. We're going to grab all of our sticks, and we're going to have 3 different sizes to work with. So we're going to start with the larger cork craft sticks from Lowe's, and I'm going to lay one down the center and then several on top. Now I'm going to lay these out and space them about 1/8 of an inch apart. Once you get your spacing right, I'm going to use my hot glue, and I'm going to start hot gluing the sticks all the way down that center stick. Now here are all the pieces all nice and secured in place, and we just want to repeat this process for your smaller sticks and also your medium sticks the same way. And so now we have 3 sets all glued together and ready to go. Now for the smaller one, I'm just going to cut a triangle out. So I'm using my ruler just to get a nice triangular shape, and I'm going to trace it on with a pencil. Now once you have that on there, all you have to do is take a nice sharp pair of scissors, and this should easily be able to cut right off. Now here is my smaller tree all cut out and ready to go, and now we can work on our medium tree. Now I'm also going to trace a triangular shape with this one as well with my ruler and use my scissors to cut this one out as well. And here is my medium tree ready to go. So now for the larger tree, I am actually going to make a triangular shape, but I'm going really wide on this, and the top points do not connect. Now we're going to be styling this a little differently, so we're going to have to cut a wide base for this. So again, we are just going to cut down the sides, making sure we have that triangular shape, and you'll notice how the top is really wide. So now what I'm going to do on each corner of each stick, I'm going in at a 45-degree angle, and I'm kind of just eyeballing this, and I'm going to do this at the end of each one of the sticks as shown here. Now once you get your guide, you're going to go ahead and cut the pieces off starting at the corner of the stick up to the top, and you'll notice how it'll start this staggered effect. And here is our tree all nice and cut out, and now you have all three ready to go. Now what we're going to do now is we are going to paint and stain our trees. Now I will be using some white acrylic paint for this. I'll also be using some black acrylic paint. And some Waverly Antique Wax, or you can use some brown paint. Now I'm going to start with my larger tree, and I am going to be painting my larger tree in black acrylic paint, and you want to apply one nice coat of the paint all over the front and inside the creases of the tree, and you also want to paint the back as well. Now once it dries, you can get the little tab at the bottom where you're holding on to and complete that as well. Now for the middle tree, I am going to paint that white on the front and back as well. And then for the middle-sized tree, I am going to paint that one with antique wax with a firm brush, and then wipe that off with a paper towel on the front and back as well. Now I did decide while I was working with this, I wanted it kind of a stand on the back so I can mount them. So I'm using some leftover tumbling tower blocks, and I'm going to glue 2 blocks together for the black tree. And what I'm going to do is I am going to adhere it to the back of the black tree at the bottom. So the first thing we have to do is cut the bottom at a straight edge, and then I'm going to apply that double stacked block at the bottom, making sure the bottom of the block is even with the bottom of the tree stump. Now I'm going to do this for the middle tree and the other tree as well, and we'll be applying 1 block to those. Now you definitely could have done this beforehand, but this was a last minute decision and it worked out perfectly. So what you have to do now is to finally paint them to match your trees, and here is what the final project would look like, and make sure you do any touch-ups you need to do before it completely dries. Now once that's done, we can start working on our framed box. So we're going to remove it from the packaging, and what we want to do is it has this little raised frame edge on it. So I'm going to go in with my little utility knife and start peeling it off. Now normally this will pop right up, but Dollar Tree really went heavy with the glue on this one. So I'm using my utility knife to kind of peel it off. It doesn't have to be perfect on the top here. We'll be covering that anyway. I'm going to use some of those leftover cord craft sticks, and I'm going to be covering the top of this box to give it a wood look. So I'm taking one of the craft sticks, lining it up with the top, and I'm marking each edge as shown here, and then I'm going to cut it off where I marked. Now we're going to remeasure, make sure everything fits, and now that it fits, we're going to use this stick as a template to create more sticks cut off at this length. Now here are all of my sticks ready to go, and now we can start applying them to the top of the box. Now to do this, I'm just going to add a generous amount of that hot glue to the stick and press it firmly into place, making sure that it's aligned with all of those edges. Now you want to align them very closely together all the way down the box. Now you notice at the very end, there's just a slither of a piece peeking out there. So I'm just going to mark it off. I'm going to draw a line with my ruler for the width of that piece that I need. And then I'm going to take that craft stick and I'm just going to cut that piece off with my X-Acto or utility knife. Now once you have your piece ready to go, all you have to do is take your glue. You're going to run a bead of glue down the side of the box, and then all you have to do is press that piece into place and it fits in there seamlessly. Okay, now that that's done, we are going to go in with our Waverly Antique Wax and we are going to stain these sticks. Now all you have to do is you just apply it right on top, making sure that you get the top and the sides. Now if you get any antique wax on the checkered print, you can wipe that off with a wet wipe and then let everything completely dry. So now that our pieces are now all dry, we can start assembling our project. So I'm going to start with my largest tree and I'm going to apply a generous amount of hot glue on that stump and then secure it into place on the far back end of the top of the wood platform. And then I want to apply each one of the trees on either side of the tallest tree as shown here, leaving a little gap between them so you can work in some greenery. Now the greenery is definitely optional, but I just think it adds a little bit more character to the piece. So I'm taking some miscellaneous pieces that I had on hand, which are cedar sprigs, and I'm just sticking them in and around the tree, and I'm loving how this looks. Now, if you did want to get a little bit more fancy with it, you can use some fairy lights, and these are Dollar Tree fairy lights, and I'm just intertwining them in between the trees and the greenery. And I do suggest that if you do add lights, add them before your greenery, but putting them in there does add just a little bit of sparkle, and then you can tuck that battery pack right underneath. And here is what they look like in the test. And here you have it, you guys, a sweet winter display of trees for your decor. Now I love all of the different sizes and dimensions of these, and you can paint or stain them in any way that you like. And I think that adding the greenery gives it a little more dimension and visual interest. Now you can choose to display this as is, or you can add even more to it to be festive, like adding some lights. Now I love how the lights look on these pieces. Now for these, I did use a strand of Dollar Tree battery fairy lights for a little sparkle, and I think they look awesome. Now I think that this display is the perfect size for battery lights, and you can simply tape that battery pack under the open bottom of the art piece. You all have to let me know what you think of this project in the comments. So the next project is a set of wood topped candle stands. Now we're going to need 2 wood circles from Walmart for 97 cents, 2 candle holders from the Dollar Tree, and 2 of these miniature wreaths from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing you're going to do is take those wood rounds and you want to remove the plastic hangers, the staple on the back, and those stickers from the front. Now again, we are going to be using our Waverly Antique Wax to stain these. You can use traditional stain if you like, but I'm going to use Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm going to put a coat on the top, the back, and also make sure you get into the sides really well. And once that's applied, go over with a paper towel to remove any excess wax. Now here are both of my pieces nice and stained, and now allow them to completely dry. So now that they're dry, we can take those rounds and our candle holders, and we are going to be adhering them together as shown here. Now for this project, I am using hot glue because I plan on repurposing these in another project, but if you want this to be permanent, definitely use E6000 or something similar to bond these together. And here are both of my rounds bonded to the top of each one of my candle holders. So now all you have to do is grab your little mini wreaths and remove those tags. And I love these mini wreaths. This is my first time seeing them, so I was so happy to find a project for them. And I'm going to take 2 of those LED Dollar Tree candles, put it around it, and then sit it right on top of that candle stand. I mean, that is so gorgeous. I love how that looks. And we're going to do that for both of our candle stands. And there you have it. Super simple and easy, yet so beautiful. Now this was the first time I found the little mini wreaths at Dollar Tree, and I'm so glad that I designed a project that I could use them in. And these colors are so warm and cozy, and they fit right into a neutral holiday decor theme. Now you can use these year-round in your home by simply changing up the florals too. Now there are other ways to display these candle holders as well. Now you can easily stack one on top of the other, and now you have a two-tier stand, and I really love this idea too. Now this project is a metal deer decor piece. Now we're going to need one of these tall metal deer decor pieces from the Dollar Tree in the Dollar Tree Plus section. Now this deer was only $5, which I thought was a really great deal for its size, so I had to just get it to craft with. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, take my deer. I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the price tags and everything from the bottom, and then I'm going to remove that greenery, and it just came right off with no problem. You want to make sure your deer is nice and clean and dust free, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a couple of coats of this flat black spray paint by Krylon, and then allow that to completely dry. Now here is my deer all nice and dry, and I love how the finished look turned out. It totally changes up the look. Now for my winter DIY, I decided to add an accent with some of this greenery. I have some of these berries from the Dollar Tree, and I also have some of these frosted pine cones from the Dollar Tree, as well as some black and white checkered ribbon. Now in order to keep this useful all year round and interchangeable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a piece of ribbon, and instead of adhering the greenery to the actual deer, I'm going to be adhering it to the ribbon, so I'll be able to tie it on and remove it as I need, and as I need to interchange it throughout the year. So I'm going to start with two of these pieces of some cedar branches that I had on hand, and I'm just going to randomly place them on there and hot glue them to the ribbon. You just want to make sure you add a generous amount of hot glue, since the ribbon will be holding these up, and we're going to be stacking these, so adding more hot glue at the center will definitely keep this real sturdy on the display. Now after that, I'm going to add some of these frosted pine pieces to the top the same way, and then once that's done, I'm going to add some of the frosted pine cones to the bunch. And then I'm going to trim down some of those berries, and I'm going to add that berry bunch right on top of the pine cones. Now here's what my bunch looks like now. Now before I start trimming, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and tie it around my deer, so I make sure it's the perfect size, and I'm just going to tie a little bow in the back. Now here is my bundle on my deer, and it looks a little large for what I would like, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to trim it down to the size that I'm happy with. So now that I finally trimmed it down, it's a little bit more slim, so I like the way this looks, but it still looked like it was missing just a little bit of an accent. So what I wanted to do was add some more of that black and white ribbon. So I am going to remove that berry bundle, because that's where I want to put my ribbon bow. So I'm going to add a dot of hot glue there and place it right above those pine cones. And then once that's in place, this is what the bundle will look like. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that berry bundle right above that bow that I just added, just to add that little pop of neutral berry color to the bundle. And now your deer is ready to place on display. And there you have it. You can now display your new updated deer creation. Now I'm so happy that I painted the deer black, because it gives it a nice, fresh and modern look without taking away from the beauty of the piece. And then you can remove or swap out the greenery as you please in order to display this piece year round. Now you all have to let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now this project is a 3-piece framed snowflake decor set. We're going to need some of these medium-sized snowflakes from the Dollar Tree, some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, and some black foam board from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start off with our snowflakes, and we want to take 3 out of the package. Now with these 3 snowflakes, I am going to be removing those hanging strings. We won't be needing them for the project, but I will grab my wire clippers as well, because what we want to do is cut apart 2 of the 3 snowflakes to make them look different. I'm trying to design 3 different snowflake styles, and you can cut these however you wish. You can just cut different parts and pieces of them. You just want 3 different looks, and here are the 3 different looks that I came up with for my snowflakes. So now what you want to do is take these out and give them a couple of coats of this Satin Bright White by Krylon, or you can use chalk paint or acrylic paint if you like. Now while those dry, we are going to work on some frames, and I'm going to be using tumbling tower blocks for this project. So for the first set of blocks, we are going to be joining together our sets of 3. So I just want to join 3 blocks together, and I'm using my Surebonder wood stick hot glue, or you can use some Fixie woodworking glue for this, or you can use regular wood glue. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make 12 of these 3 block sets, and here they all are ready to go, and separate them into groups of 4. And now we're going to put together our frames. So we're going to put together the frames as shown here, making sure we're forming that L shape in the corner. You want to just rotate it around, and then you want to add another 3 block set into that corner as well. Now you just want to make sure that you join them as shown here, so you make sure that you have a perfect square when you are done joining your ends together. Now once you have those 3 sides, just add that last piece, which should fit perfectly into that open area. Apply your glue and then press that firmly into place. Now here is one of the frames, and you just want to repeat it 2 more times to have 3 square frames. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 3 frames, and I'm going to be staining these with Waverly Antique Wax. Now you can certainly use traditional stain if you like to, but I'm going to be using Waverly Antique Wax for these frames. Just apply the wax on the front, the sides, and the inside of each frame. There's no need to stain the back of them. And here are all 3 frames stained, so just go over them with a paper towel to remove all the excess wax and allow them to completely dry. Now once they're dry, we're going to grab our foam board, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out 3 pieces of foam board the same size as each one of my frames. So I'm taking a frame, I'm laying it on top, and I'm tracing the outside of the frame onto the foam board 3 times. Now once they're all traced, I'm going to take my ruler, and you could take a utility knife or an X-Acto knife, and you want to cut out all of those squares on the lines that you traced. Now once you have all 3 of your squares all cut out, I like to go ahead and cut off an additional 1/4 inch on 2 of the sides of the square, and this will prevent it from showing from the front of the frame. Now you want to repeat this for all of your foam board squares so they'll fit perfectly as shown here. So now that we have everything all nice and cut out, we are going to lay the frames with the good side facing down, and we are going to start to apply the backing. So I'm just going to go around the back of the frame with a bead of the hot glue and press that foam board right in the center. And you want to repeat this for all 3, and here are your frames ready to go. So flip them back over, and now we're going to add a hang string on the back, and this is just a piece of jute twine with knots tied on each end. Now you can certainly sit these or hang these however you want to, but I wanted to apply the string to each one of them in case I decided to hang them. And to cover up those knots, I'm just going to add a piece of this craft paper right over there, and this just gives it a really nice clean look, covering up all of the glue and the knots of the string. Now you just want to repeat this for all 3 of your frames. And here are the backs of your frames, so go ahead and flip those over and grab those snowflakes, which should be nice and dry now. We're just going to apply each one into each one of the frames, making sure that it's nice and centered. Now to avoid any glue mess, I'm only applying glue to the very center of the snowflake and gently pressing the center in place, and this should hold that snowflake right in place and it should not budge. And here is what they will all look like. And now you can place these on display and enjoy these super cute pieces. Now I love how simple it was to create these and how the warm look will blend into most home decor. Now you can choose to hang these, lean these, or put them on picture easels to display them too. It's all up to you and how they will work in your personal space. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. And we're also going to need some skewers from the Dollar Tree or Walmart for 88 cents. We're going to need an assortment of bottle tree brushes from the Dollar Tree, and you can even use the cobblestone trees from the Dollar Tree as well. So we're going to start off with our blocks, and what we're going to do is grab up 4 blocks, and we're going to make sets of 4, and we're going to end up making 15 sets of 4 in order to make 3 boxes for our project. And we're just going to glue those side by side just like we did before. Now here is one of our 4 block sets, and just repeat this until you have 15 total sets. Now I place these in stacks of 5 because we'll need 5 for each one of the boxes. So one of the sets will be the bottom of the box, and all we're going to do is place a set of blocks all the way around it. So I like to start at the sides first, the longer sides, and I'm just going to hot glue a 4 block set on each side. Now you want to put it on each side, and now your box will form a U shape, and then close in each side with another 4 block set as shown here with hot glue. And here is what one of your boxes will look like. Just repeat this until your other 2 are complete as well. And now what I'm going to do is grab my skewers. I'm just going to grab 2 or 3 out of the package, and I want to add a crisscross design on the front of my box, and I'm going to use the skewers to do that. So I'm going to have I'm going to lay it out diagonally and mark that corner. Now you can easily cut these with wire clippers or scissors, but I'm using these pet claw clips from the Dollar Tree. I find that these don't crush the skewer down, so I like to use those, and that's a good buy for $1 from the Dollar Tree. And so you just want to add your hot glue along the edge of that skewer and place it right across the center as shown here. Now we're going to lay the other piece crisscrossed across it in an X. We're going to mark that, and we're going to cut that as well. Now we don't want it going over the other skewer. We'll have to cut this down in the middle, and we'll do some trimming later, so no worries about it being too long. So now we're just going to hot glue each one of those 2 separate pieces to form that X shape on the front of the box, just making sure each piece goes corner to corner nice and even. Now once your pieces are nice and laid, you just want to allow them to dry, and this is what they'll look like. And then you can go in and trim off any overlapped corners on each one of the skewers on all 3 of the boxes. So now that the boxes are done, we can add our antique wax. And again, I am going to be using my paintbrush to get down to the bottom of my container here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start staining the inside first. Now, once I stain the inside, I am going to go around with a cloth and wipe off any excess. And then I'm going to stain the outside of the boxes. And here's what one looks like. Just repeat this for your other 2 boxes. And now that those are done, you just want to allow them to sit and completely dry. So now that they're dry, we can add our trees. So I'm going to grab the tallest one of the cobblestone trees, and then I'm going to remove the tags from the 2 taller bottle brush trees. Now the taller bottle brush trees fit perfectly inside of the box here, so I'm going to place one inside of each one. Now the cobblestone tree sits a little low, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 extra tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to glue them side by side, sit it in the bottom just to give it a little boost, and that looks perfect for the tinier tree. Now even though the boxes look great, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bow on the top of each one as an accent and to tie it into the other DIYs. And once you just put a dot of hot glue on those and secure them, you're ready to display these pieces. And how simple was that? I just love how cute these turned out. Now these little trees are so much fun to add to your crafts, and the boxes make the perfect way to display them. Now, I really had fun creating these projects today, and I really hope that they have inspired you. Now, as always, I love them all, but let me know in the comments which one was your favorite today. Listen, I hope that you all enjoyed seeing these creations again, or for some of you, for the very first time. The neutral ideas are fun to create, and I hope that they have inspired you. Now, if you did love this video, tap that thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Now, these videos packed with ideas are so much fun, and if you don't want to miss my next one, just click my She So CraftDee logo on your screen and tap that bell to be notified when we go live. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.